You're listening to the Magnetic Boss Podcast, where badass entrepreneurs come together to share authentic conversations. We're ditching the cookie-cutter approach to building a business and valuing collaboration over competition. I'm your host, Calandra Martin, boy mom, coffee-obsessed coach, speaker, and leader. I help women radiate their brilliance in the online space and create magnetic brands. We are here to have fun, do work we love, and enjoy the ride. Now let's dive in. Welcome back to the Magnetic Boss Podcast. Today we are diving into how to simplify your business. And simplification, first and foremost, is something that we so often overcomplicate as entrepreneurs. And I know that I am raising my hand here and will be the first to tell you that in the very beginning of my business, I made things way more complicated than I needed them to be. And this looked like me spending time all hours of the day behind my computer, researching different strategies, discovering different platforms, spending a lot of time on busy work, which we've talked about on the podcast before. And when it comes down to it, I want you to understand that your business, growing a business online, is extremely simple, right? So what this looks like is your business is designed and created to serve people, right? You are solving a problem, you are creating a solution. And in order for you to do that, you have to bridge the gap between the problem that you solve and the person that you help. And of course, in between all of that, there is a lot that can get messy. There are a lot of things that we have to identify, like our niche and our marketing strategies and the platforms that we are using and all of these pieces. But that doesn't mean that we have to make our business difficult. So today we are talking about simplicity, and I want to first dive into why simplicity is so powerful. So this is a training that we recently did inside the Magnetic Boss membership. On one of our monthly group calls, we really dug deep into simplifying businesses for the members in the group. And something that we talked about right in the beginning of our training was the fact that there is so much power in simplicity because our brains love when things are simple. Right? So when we are talking about having an online business, it is literally our job to cut through the noise and stand out in a really fast-paced market with a million distractions, right? So when I talk about the beginning of my business, when I spent way too much time looking at all of the possibilities, right? All of the strategies that I could use and implement, there was noise. And ultimately, as a business owner, it is your job, it is your responsibility, and your goal really to cut through that noise, because when you do, you will attract your dream customers or clients. So when we talk about simplicity, in the membership training, we covered some of the psychological effects that come into play here. So there's the mere exposure effect, which is just talking about the number of times that we're exposed to an idea and that influencing how we feel about that idea. There's beauty and averageness, which is really just speaking to the fact that we are more attracted as humans to things that have common visual elements. And so what it comes down to, and there are a few more, but to give you a brief overview, what it comes down to is creating familiarity in your business. So the ultimate goal as an online business owner is for you to create a low psychological barrier of entry in your business. So in marketing and growing your business, that means the simpler you keep things, the more likely you are to attract the people in your business that you desire to work with. And the same thing goes for how you are showing up and doing your to-do list in the day-to-day, right? How you are scheduling your time, the activities that you are spending your time on, all of these things can be and should be simplified. So I really want to today take you through an exercise of looking at your client's journey, because this is how you are going to simplify your marketing strategy, and it's also how you can start reverse engineering the way that you are spending your time day to day in your business. Okay, so your client's journey is what they experience when they come across your brand, right? So when you have a really powerful brand, the goal is and the expectation is that you will get their attention right away. And as soon as you are getting the attention of your audience, that is when your client's journey begins. So the thing that I want to walk you through today is how to create a straightforward experience and some of the things that you should be taking into account. So, so the first thing that I want you to consider and reflect on in your business is having a linear marketing strategy. So this means showing up and really consistently meeting the expectation, the needs, and the desires of your ideal client. This is where it is extremely important for you to do that foundational work in your brand. You want to know who you're speaking to. You want to know what the pain points are of your ideal client. And you also need to be really clear on what the solution is to their problem so that you can present it in a way that is simple and clear and leads your client, your audience member, future potential client to that very first step in working with you, whatever that looks like for your business. So, having linear marketing efforts is really what is going to bridge the gap between you having a solution to a problem, your business, right? AKA your business, and bridging that gap so that your audience knows that they can come to you, right? That you are going to help them on their journey. So, this is really where communication is so, so important. And I want to remind you that over time, with practice, with putting yourself out there and maybe stumbling a little bit, the way that you market your business, your message, and your marketing is really going to come together and become easier for you, right? So if you are in the beginning stages of your business, this is where I invite you to look at the foundational pieces. Instead of spending time looking at everything that you could do, start with something and test it. See if it works for your particular audience. And the next step here is for you to be reflecting on the touch points for your audience. So if you are bringing your client or customer into a journey, an experience with you, what are the touch points, the moments where they are building that relationship with you and the communication is happening that is going to ultimately lead them to the sale? And this could look like a series of touch points and a different number of a variety of sales, right? Maybe you have a low tier offer and then a high tier offer and some things in between. So start to think about through every stage when you are working with your customer or client, what does that look like? How are you holding them, holding space for them, and really creating and cultivating a relationship that is going to be long lasting? What we are really looking for here is simplicity and also longevity, which is why simplicity is so important, because when things are simple for you and your audience, then the longevity is just a natural manifestation, right? When you feel really good about something and it's easy and effortless, then you continue to want more of it. It's just really, really human psychology. So, in order to be reflecting on your touch points, again, you have to know what your linear marketing efforts are. You have to understand how you are getting somebody from point A to point B and what everything looks like in between. And then You show up and you serve and you sell. So this might look like posting on Facebook or Instagram. This might look like hosting workshops. It might look like writing blog posts. These are the things that fill the gaps. This is how you show up and get visible. So again, going back to the simplicity of putting your business together and taking action on growing it, all you need is to know what is the problem that you solve, who is the person that you help, and how are you bridging that gap, right? Really, really simple formula. So when you are paying attention to your client's journey and you're really intentional about this, it's going to help you understand how to show up in your business and to do it in a way that is powerful and potent. So I want to leave you with one last thing today. It is my goal to keep this a short and action-packed episode for you. I want to give you a formula and strategy that I use in my business, but also in my personal life, because let's be honest, personal life can be a little crazy sometimes too. So if you have ever felt like in your day-to-day, you are overwhelmed by all of the things, right? You're like, oh my gosh, I'm always doing all of the things. I have so much on my plate. There's so much to do. There's always more to do. First of all, recognize that, right? It is so normal for us to feel like we are always doing all of the things. And then recognize that you get to set the tone for how you feel and how you show up. So the formula or strategy that I use, and this is so simple, you're going to just be like, oh, why didn't I think of that? The formula or strategy that I use is 1, 2, 3, many. Okay, so let me explain this a little bit, and then I'm going to give you an exercise for this particular strategy. So 1, 2, 3, many is really looking at how our brains work. When we are consuming information, and we are honestly consuming information so quickly. So for example, in a study from Google, in 2012, I just want to give you some research here. It was found that users on a website will judge the aesthetics and the functionality of that website in 1/20th to 1/50th of a second. So, in the time that it takes for you to, less than in the time it takes for you to snap your fingers, your brain is already passing judgment on a website. And that's just one example, right? So, our brains are working so fast all of the time. And if you were listening to the episode of The Energetics of Business with Erin Nicole Porter, you would have learned that our mind is really run by our subconscious, right? We're not always making conscious decisions. Our brain is almost always running on autopilot. And so what that means is that when you have a lot of things on your to-do list, when you are filling a notebook page of all of the stuff that you want to accomplish, that you need to do for your business, the tasks around the house, the getting the kids off to school, all of these things, we hit analysis paralysis. And I know that I am the first to say, like I mentioned in the beginning of this episode, that I am guilty of this, right? It is human nature for us to feel overwhelmed, especially in the world that we live in today. So, a little reminder, it is normal for you to experience this. But I want to teach you how to avoid analysis paralysis and how to avoid feeling like you are stuck, not knowing what to do next. So 1, 2, 3, many is the structure that allows you to focus on just 3 things at a time. Because after 3, it's too many. It's way too much for our brain to try to break down and compartmentalize. Because even when you, let's say, have 3 things on your to-do list, one of them being writing a blog post, and then maybe sending direct messages for building your business and getting potential clients. And then the next one is maybe cleaning your house. Well, let's just talk about cleaning your house for a second. That in itself has many tasks, right? There's a lot of things. You probably have to sweep your floors and do your dishes and fold the laundry. That's 3 things in itself. So when you think about one, two, three, many, and you give yourself a limit of how much you are focusing on in one moment, right? In one span of time throughout your day, and you start the intention of once I finish these 3 things, then I get to decide if I do anything else, right? So this isn't to say that you're going to do 3 things every day and that's it. If you're anything like me, I'm a manifesting generator in human design. And what that means for me is that I work really fast and I love to work. I love to hustle. I love having long to-do lists. But if I put everything on my to-do list in the very beginning of the day, it can feel a little bit daunting. Whereas if I put 3 things on my to-do list and I check the boxes off and I say, okay, I did this, this, and this, right? Then I feel really good about myself. So this structure and formula is going to help you build your confidence, boost your momentum, and also be really intentional about where you're spending your time and energy, especially in your business. So going back to the example of the to-do list, if you are thinking about writing a blog post, what do you have to do? What are the individual tasks underneath that you have to do to get that done? What this is going to do is allow you to look at not only where you're spending your time, but how much time it takes you to actually get something done. So I hear this a lot with my clients when we are working on their website, right? Everybody has it in their heads that a website is going to take months and it's going to be so much work, and why even bother, right? I hear that all of the time. Why even bother start with a website because it's going to take so much time? But when you reframe that and you break it down into a clear outline and you start with the first 3 things. So for example, when I start working on a website with a client, we look at the core pages, right? Your About Me page, your services page, and maybe your blog. Let's just use that for an example. Once you know what those are, then you can start to fill in what the content is that you need to write for those 3 pages. And you take it one step at a time. 1, 2, 3, many, right? After 3, it feels overwhelming. So what I encourage you to do with this structure is to look at your to-do list today. First of all, I want you to recognize if you are already filling your plate beyond your capacity. If you are somebody who is putting so much on your to-do list that you are instead scrolling on Facebook and Instagram, or you are cleaning out a corner of your house that has no relevance to your ultimate goal of getting the house clean. I know I do this. I get lost in like the junk drawer of, oh, what's in here? And maybe I'll find this new thing and this new thing. Okay, if you are doing things like this and you are getting sucked into the busy work, I want you to recognize that first and really ask yourself, is it serving you to spend your time in this way? Is it serving you to constantly feel overwhelmed and to feel like you don't know what direction to go in your business? Is it serving you? And if the answer is no, then the next thing that I encourage you to do is to get a fresh sheet of paper or pull up your to-do list on your phone and create a list of 3. What are the top 3 priorities in your life or business right now? Once you look at what those 3 things are, start to break it down into the subtasks that you're going to do. Then go back and listen to the episode on time management and look at how you can break these individual tasks into your calendar, into time blocks. Because I promise you that if you are starting with just 3 things and you are getting really intentional about your marketing efforts, right? You're looking at the big picture of your business, going back and identifying who your ideal client or customer is, what the problem is that you solve, and then looking at how to bridge that gap. it's going to feel much more simple. This is going to allow you to step into more ease in your business and life, right? Again, this could go both ways. And it's really going to give you the momentum to keep taking baby steps forward. And granted, you might have to change direction a little bit here and there, right? Take action on things, see if they are working, decide if it is really touching on those pain points of your clients and customers, decide if it is serving you in the best way, right? Is it leaving you feeling like your cup is filled up? If not, what do you need to tweak? And come back to this consistently and frequently, because we can very easily get wrapped up in the day to day in doing all of the things. So I hope that this was a helpful episode for you today. I cannot tell you how beneficial it is to simplify in your business. And if you have found this episode helpful, I would love for you to take just 2 minutes, go over to iTunes, leave a rating and review, and let me know what you were loving about this podcast, because your feedback means so much to me. It not only helps grow the Magnetic Boss podcast, but it also gives me feedback on what topics you would love to hear more of, what you are struggling with in your business, so that I can give you really specific trainings. And if you're looking for a little bit of extra handholding, we do have space for you inside the Magnetic Boss membership, which is our monthly membership for online business owners, where we are teaching you everything about branding, marketing, and getting your business seen in the online space. So that is all for today's episode, and I will talk to you next week.